And so in answer to the question, in Equity bringing their High Court action against Spotlight, does it constitute a misuse of members' money, trade union funds? Our answer, without any doubt, is
Nigel.cecil, calling things out.
Hello, Jagabatis. Welcome. Thank you for joining me, Nigel.cecil. A few weeks ago, at your request, because you brought it to our attention using this email address, we featured a video based on Equity bringing their claim in the High Court against Spotlight, the UK home of casting. Rather unfortunately for Equity and Equity's members and their money, Equity lost. The High Court ruled in favour of Spotlight. A few days later, the Equity Council announced that they were going to seek leave to appeal that judgment. Now, you've been in touch and said, Nigel, what's happened to that leave to appeal? We don't know, do we, Hilary? But we believe that very shortly we'll all be finding out. But setting that question aside, you've got another consideration. Because amongst our viewers, there are those who've been equity activists over many years. And with their experience and our experience, you're asking the question, as you believe there was no realistic chance of Equity winning in the High Court, in bringing their action, Equity, did it constitute a misuse of members' money, a misuse of trade union funds? Now, we're no legal experts, but we put our thinking caps on and looked at all the aspects. And so in answer to the question, in Equity bringing their High Court action against Spotlight, does it constitute a misuse of members' money, trade union funds? Our answer, without any doubt, is no. It does not constitute a misuse of members' money, trade union funds. In saying this, we know that some of you will be disappointed because you're saying, as you believe there was no chance of Equity winning, surely it was just a waste of money going to the High Court. It was just campaigning, protesting, waving a flag, leading everyone on. And look what's happening to Equity and all that money. How many thousands of pounds is it going to cost? Well, of course, we could be wrong. Maybe it's not going to cost anything, is it? Do you believe that, Hilary? But why is it not a misuse of members' funds? It's because you elect the council, and the council have the authority to act on behalf of all the members. So the council considered the issues and decided to go to the High Court. They authorised Equity collectively as a trade union to go to the High Court. So the money was spent with the authority of the council. So it can't possibly be a misuse of members' money. But then you're saying, well, if they've got no chance of winning, yes. But here's where things are put into perspective. Were the Equity Council acting on behalf of the professional interests of the members, or were they driven by, well, some sort of consideration? Some might consider it an ideology that meant, well, we have to do this on behalf of all the workers, to all artists good work, to all workers good art, to everyone equity. Should Equity's responsibility as a trade union to represent the interests of all workers everywhere? Or should they focus on what matters to the professional interests of Equity's members? Not least because at any one time, some 80% or more are out of work, looking for work. Equity takes members' money so they can be members when they're out of work. So Equity Council have to justify the merits to the members if bringing the High Court action was in their professional interests. Which brings us to a question in a previous video, because when some of you were on the Equity Council, you made it absolutely clear that when it came to spending members' money, the legal opinion, especially if proceeding to court, had to say, we believe there is at least a 70% or more, 80% chance of winning. Because if you haven't got that, well, no legal profession can guarantee anything, but unless you're a barrister, your legal advice can say you've got 70, 80% chance of winning, then it's realistic that your argument will be sustained in the High Court. Did Equity get that assurance before they proceeded to the High Court? If they did not get that assurance, then there are questions to be asked. Now, we've actually got here at Harbottle and Lewis, their employment expert, Yvonne Gallagher, gave a very good piece in the Stage newspaper, an article explaining everything and actually saying that, well, maybe Equity had identified a gap in the protection for workers. A protection for workers, all workers? Or was it, as we've suggested before, that when it comes to Yellow Pages, the Link magazine, where self-employed sole traders advertise, well, they're available for work, is Spotlight any different from that? But then we're digressing. So the question is, to answer the question quite clearly, has Equity misused members' money in bringing the High Court action? Unequivocally, the answer is no. But were Equity right in doing so? Were they putting the professional interests of Equity members equally and fairly for all before taking that decision? Did they get that reassurance from their legal advisors that Equity had a 70 to 80% chance of winning? Or was it a case of, well, we have to do it because this is our belief? You can't justify actions on behalf of all your members simply because you have a belief. Beliefs don't pay members subscriptions. Work pays members subscriptions. And that is what trade unions should be all about, looking after the workers in the workplace, in showbiz. So, with that thought in mind, do let us know what you think, and we'll be interested to hear and see what happens to the leave to appeal, and also how much everything, how many hundreds of thousands of pounds or tens of thousands of pounds in costs might be incurred by Equity members. As always, do let us know what you think. And as this video is about equity, once again we always say, to all artists good work, to all workers good art, and of course, in showbiz, you better keep your professional fingers crossed. Please hit the subscribe button and join us again, because together every viewer helps. Thank you.